Guys, we're about to get started, please. If we can all be quiet, gather round if you're at the back. Thank you.
So, welcome to Outreach Digital event tonight. Thank you so much for coming. This is the first time we are doing something like this. We've never done that before. Because those who have come to our previous events, you would know that we normally do a presentation or a hands-on workshop about something digital. But because so many of you are looking for jobs all the time, are looking for the next career move, we thought that we should give an opportunity for you to actually find out what it takes to move into digital or to make the next career move within digital space. So this is why we are here tonight. We're going to have a panel session. Jason, Steve, I'm sorry, and Kevin are going to do a little bit of an introduction into what helps candidates to stand out in their applications. How to get noticed when you're applying for a job in digital space. Afterwards, we're going to do a little Q&A, so you will have a chance to ask your questions. If you don't want to shout it out in the public, feel free to go to slide.do. There you're going to have to enter code 3264. That helps you to log in, and then you can just post a question there. You can do it anonymously, you can post a name, etc. But then we will just read out the questions you have if you just don't want to shout that, right? There's free Wi-Fi as well. It's www.guest, so just feel free to connect to that. Engage with us on Outreach Digit. And before we start, Hannah will do a quick intro about Outreach Digital.
I will do a quick intro about Outreach Digital.
Yes.
So, for those of you that have never been to an Outreach Digital event, we're a digital charity, and we're basically I'm going to go with it, we're London's biggest digital community around, completely free. So we run an event generally once a week, sometimes twice a week if you're really lucky, and we share digital skills. So anything from SEO, PPC, display advertising, go across to kind of UX-y things, anything you can think of that kind of fits into that digital spectrum. We cover it in workshops that you can sign up to on our meetup page. Come along, we operate all across London, loads of different venues, and hopefully you'll learn an absolute ton. So if you're looking for a job, the thing to talk about in an interview is, I went to this Outreach Digital event, and this speaker said that the future of SEO is this, and my opinion is here. Like, it provides such a chance for you to use in an interview and to use when you're talking to people. Not only that, it's a massive networking opportunity. You'll meet people that are hiring, you'll meet people that are looking for work. Perfect for everyone to attend. So, before you participate in anything, you don't have to listen to them for like the first minute, as long as you're on your phone and you're on meetup.com/digital and you're signing up to everything. So what you want to do is you want to attend our next events for at least a month. And then what I need you to do as well is go on to outreachdigital.org, add your email address so that you can get all of our emails, where we share all our amazing content that all of our volunteers run. And other than that, when you finish, before you walk out the door, when you get in the lift, you get bad signal. So I'd like you to all queue outside the lift quietly, go on to meetup.com/digital and fill out that whole review thing. And what you want to do is you want to put 5 stars. I had an amazing event. Hannah and Christina were awesome. All of the speakers were great. And I'm going to turn up to every single one. And that's it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Hannah. Before we start, is everybody clear how to use Slido? You open up your browser on a phone, you enter www.slide.do, enter the code, etc., and submit your question throughout, and then we're going to read it out, right? Okay, cool. If we are happy to start, let's start with Jason. Feel free to do a little introduction.
So what they're all going to do is a quick, hi, this is who I am, and then they're going to talk to you a little bit about their experience, so you know that they kind of know what they're on about. And then what we'd really like is them to give them their top tip about employability and what's going to help you get ahead in digital. So you're going to get 1 tip now, which means that you know they've got 100 more. If you want 100 more tips, you need to ask questions, which means you need to get active, get engaged, and get on Slido right now. Is everyone signed in that wants to be? Everyone else ready to shout?
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you, Grabs. And following this, there'll be CV Labs, and you can grab any recruiter. Most of them have a white badge on with their name. If you're a recruiter, you're not in a green kind of badge, and you can grab them and talk to them about your CV and what you can do to improve.
And some of the recruiters are going to carry on doing consultations right now, I hope. If not, then we will carry on after the panel.
Sorry, can I just confirm, recruiters are wearing white badge, or the potential employees are wearing white badge? People looking for work?
Recruiter should say recruiter on there,
okay.
But my handwriting is very bad,
sure.
So I wrote the ticket.
Making sure that I had the right badge, I'm not a recruiter.
We slightly ran out of badges as well, so it's
sure.
not a hard and fast rule. Sorry everyone, we'll come better prepared next time.
Right, good evening everyone. My name is Jason Taylor. I work for a company called Wells Device. We're a recruitment agency. I specialise in the digital creative space. So that for me means digital creative and online marketing. So the types of roles that I've been recruiting for the past 15 years is anything from a junior designer to a senior digital creative director. Mainly the business we work with specialises on client-side types of clients, so people like BA, HSBC are typical types of clients. Focus isn't so much for agency for us really at the moment, that's where our sweet spot is. And in terms of talking to you today, there's various different things, but I thought I wanted to talk a little bit about engaging with recruitment consultants, because like we've all heard the horror stories, especially I'm sure the other panelists have heard of people not being so happy or friendly to talk to recruiters. So you know, one of the most important things for us is how do you engage with recruiters? What's the best way to get something out of them, get the most out of them? And I think I'll start by just talking about communication. I think one of the most important things is making sure, for me, that anyone that I work with builds a good relationship with me. So, you know, the way you get the best out of a consultant is if you can sit down and, you know, you can bring them up, they know who you are, and they're interested in helping you, as opposed to, you know, a lot of people are very standoffish with recruiters. I know I'm starting being controversial here, but some people are quite standoffish with recruiters. You know, we ask questions, we don't get much back sometimes. It's like, well, are you on any other interviews? And like, well, why do you need to know that? It's just like any normal relationship at the end of the day. I think that is one of the crucial points that makes me decide, am I going to work really hard for this person? Is my team going to benefit from spending time actually, you know, interviewing and helping this person for the next 2 hours? Or, you know, is this person just going to go off and see another 8 people and you know, I have no control over what I can do with them and focusing on what I can do for their career. So I think for me that's one of my tips, and one of the things that's most important, I feel, when searching for the right recruiter for you. Obviously it's really important to know that you're speaking to a specialist in your area. You will probably work that out quite quickly based on you know, the feedback you get with them. So it's already important to look at who you're speaking to, what areas they've covered, probably quiz them a little bit about the types of clients they work with and who they've placed. It's really difficult, obviously, for a lot of people. There's a real mixture of people. There's like juniors, seniors, and senior guys talking to very junior consultants a lot of the time raises up a lot of frustration. So I would suggest that you make sure you're talking to the right person at the end of the day for your area. And really in the digital space, it's about talking to a specialist in the area that you are working with. You know, there's no point talking to an Adecco or a Reed on the high street. I don't think you all work that out, I'm sure. But for me, that's really one of the key things. You know, we can sit down, we can talk about what to put on your CV, the top questions to ask, and I'm pretty sure most of the people in here already know that. But the key tip I want to say to people to take away is, you know, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel like a lot of agencies do out there at the moment, is really focusing on building a relationship with that consultant, and you'll work out quite quickly whether that person's going to work for you or not based on what you get back from them. So that's what I have to say.
Quick question before we move on. So what really catches your eye when you get a CV or an email?
What catches my eye, for me, it's I work more on the creative side. So for me, if I get a portfolio link which takes me directly to someone's work, and you know the design is recognized brands, for me is one of the key things. You know, if we're trying to market you to one of our clients, you know, it's important to have recognized brands in the portfolio. And really, as a designer, you should know how to lay out and make your work stand out and look clean. Really, one of the the biggest things is making sure you have nice, clean typography and design. Really, when sending out your links to people, so that's one of the most important things. Yeah.
How would you judge the slide?
How would I judge the slide? Needs work. Yeah.
So now we're done being mean to Christina.
Honesty.
You won't be invited back, do we? Shall we move on?
Yes.
So we're just going to run through all the recruiters really quickly, and then you can ask some questions. Steve. So it's just as an FYI, everyone, Steve's actually my recruiter and has found me jobs before, so he's okay at things.
Really bad intro.
But that's part of what Jason was talking about finding someone you match with and you get on with quite well. Like, we're friends still after finding me a job, so...
Yeah, there you go.
So I think maybe myself and my friend here probably should have compared notes before we actually sat down today. One of the most important things to me is communication with candidates, and I actually had to check over the placements I've made over the course of 2016, and one of the things that really stood out to me was that some of the best and most enjoyable placements that I've made started with a phone call. So a candidate has called me, whether it's been from looking at my LinkedIn, whether it's looking at an advert that I've posted, it's all started with a conversation. Now we work in a digital age, so we've got our social, we've got all these different platforms we can work with, but pick up the phone, speak to your recruiters, have that initial conversation. And I say this to my team. I head up the digital team over at Creative Personnel. I say this to my team when they're approaching clients. I say this when they're opening new doors for business. Have a 5-point pitch, okay? And this applies to you guys as well. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What have you achieved? Have you got a first degree? Call up your recruiter, strike up a conversation, and have your pitch ready to sell yourself over the phone. Again, we work in a digital age. There's loads of emails, there's loads of applications. Make yourself stand out by, even if the phone number's not readily available, find that phone number. If you're interested in the person that you're looking at, find their phone number, speak to them, have a 5-minute conversation. 9 times out of 10, when candidates have come to me to speak to me about one specific role which I've advertised, I end up speaking to them about 10 more, because they've told me what they're interested in. Maybe they're moving to a different country, maybe they're having children, maybe their life requirements are going to determine how their job search is going to pan out. Pick up the phone and speak to these people, start off on a personal level. Sometimes it might be, okay, well, you're not right for me, it's not the right recruiter, move on to the next one. But it's all about communication. I think I'm mirroring what you've just said. Start off on a good note, have your tools ready as well, okay? Have your social media up to date, any blogs that you have your armour ready so that when you're speaking to your recruiter, or even if it's a direct employer, go in there, have a conversation, build rapport, build a friendship, and then go from there. So my background, I've now been with Creative Personnel for nearly 5 years. I actually started off in user experience, then gravitated towards the digital side. And I know there's crossover, and I think there's probably a few of you in here that I've spoken to on the user experience side in the past. But yeah, that's me, it's my background. Hopefully we can have a Q&A later.
Cool. Thank you. And Kevin.
Hello everyone. So I'm Kevin Smith. I own a company called Rubik Limited. 80% of my business is recruitment. I am probably the fraud out of the 3 of us in that my background isn't recruitment through and through. I've worked and serviced the recruitment industry sector for 15, 20 years, but more as an external supplier rather than being part of the industry. 2 things I've learned tonight. First one is I'm going to employ Hannah as my business development manager because I thought her pitch for Outreach Digital was outstanding. She's going to work for me. What I've also learned is that what Jason and Steve have said is absolutely right. And I actually thought that I would be coming here tonight and I'd need to be a little bit conscious about the message I would give. In that I think we've all had negative experiences within a recruitment process. But I think we'd all admit that we've had very, very good experiences within a recruitment process. If you find yourself a partner to work with you within the world of recruitment, that can be really, really valuable. If you've got somebody that you trust and they trust, that is a two-way partnership. Now, what I'm not going to do is duplicate the message that Jason and Steve have given with regards to their sort of top tip. I think my guidance would be to add to that is, and do you know what, I'm teaching you all to suck eggs because you're here tonight. Network, that would be my tip. Build your network. I think Children's Day, I did an event with the school last week. We had 220 Year 10 students. And the guidance I gave to them is that you are entering a world, you're entering a future career where you will be at the heartbeat of that. You will be building your network without even knowing it, whether it be within Facebook, whether it be with Twitter or any of the other sort of social media tools that are out there. LinkedIn is a platform that those school children will come to know further down the line, but build your network. Talk to people, ask questions. Don't be scared to ask questions because that is the most valuable source of information. Asking questions of the recruitment professionals that you choose to work with will be so valuable for you, and you get back from any relationship or any network what you put in. I'll give you, I shared with somebody a little bit earlier, a real example, a true example. Back end of last year, one of our clients, and I'm very, very close to the business owner, know him very, very well, and he gave us a brief and he gave us a requirement, and he was very, very specific as what he wanted. And my team came to me a few days later and said, Kevin, we think we found somebody. Given you know the client really, really well, will you speak to the candidate? Yeah, of course I will. And I spoke to the candidate, and honestly I thought the candidate was perfect. The candidate asked me, okay, who's the company? Okay, I don't believe in secrets, I'll share with you, this is the company. I won't use the expletive for you, oh, sorry Kevin, I can't work for that company. Why? My brother-in-law owns that company. So your brother-in-law is Darren? Yeah. Okay. I play golf with him every Saturday. How did I not know that he was looking for somebody in that role? Well, maybe you're playing golf and it's social, but more importantly, how did he not know you were looking for a job? Well, I wouldn't admit that to him. Okay. Well, look, cards on the table, I think you are a really, really good fit. I will speak to Darren. I won't share your detail. I will speak to Darren, and let's see how the land lies. So I phoned Darren straight away and said, look, I think we've found somebody. I think we've found somebody who's really, really good. But you'll kick yourself, you know them. But he's asked me not to share his name with you. What I'm going to do is share you the background. I'll send over to you where he's working now, the responsibilities he has, his sort of career background so far. I want you to tell me, does he look right fit? He called me within 15 minutes of sending that detail. Kevin looks great. Who is he? Who is he? Okay, it's Paul, your brother-in-law. There were a few more swear words than Paul used, and you know, I had to say to him, look, I have to clarify with you, Darren, I know you very, very well. My responsibility is to help find you the right person. If I connect you two guys, you know, I've got a responsibility to my team, there's a fee. He said, well, look, I said, but I'll be honest with you, Paul is a little bit nervous. He doesn't want to end up with egg on his face. He doesn't want you to employ him out of feeling need to, but I think you should get one of your co-directors to meet him. So that's what happened, and 2 weeks later I accepted the role, and it was all very nice. But the failing of both of those two, well, they play golf together every Saturday. They're brother-in-laws, and yet they're not talking. And if that happens so close to home, well, we all make far greater mistakes than that. You know, take ownership for your network. Gravitate around it. Talk to people. Ask questions of people. Certainly trust the recruitment professionals, because we are there to help. We are there to help, and we will give as much as we can to you if we see that reciprocated. And we'll talk in more detail around questions that get posed later. But my one tip: build your network, create that network, and work within it.
Awesome, thank you. So we're gonna, in case I can't someone's a little bit shy, we're going to give you like a 2-minute thing, because we're going to ask one of the questions of Slido first, and then we'll go to you guys, and we'll go back to Slido, and we'll keep going, yeah? Sound good? Cool. So, first question. Then my phone breaks. Old phone, sorry, not digital enough. So, what would you guys say are the recommended digital marketing certificates you could have to boost employability? Like, is there something that stands out on someone's CV where you go, they're qualified in this, therefore they're going to be a great candidate and I'm going to find them a job in a second? Jason. Sorry to jump on you. You were too close.
Again, it depends on the discipline. Again, we're working in the creative side for me. It's really down on to the vision. You know, when I look at a portfolio, it's completely different. For example, if I was looking at project managers or online producers, I would look for something completely different. You know, I would look at the methodology. So I'd look at, you know, how long ago they did their agile certifications and so on. So you know, it just depends really. But for me, on the creative side, if I'm being honest, it's purely down to the visuals and not down to specific qualifications really.
Would you guys agree, disagree, anything you look for?
Well, we work in quite a different sector. I specialise in search marketing, and you know, I think it should be standard that everyone should have their Google AdWords and the various Google certifications on their CV. Put something new on there. Learn how to code. You know, learn to do something which is outside of the remit. Learn how to do something where you can say to an employer, actually, I have this, which no one else has got. You know, it has to be relative, obviously, with an extent, but you know, something where you've gone that extra mile to learn. You know, rather than just having Google AdWords and various other sort of Google certificates go around that. Try and make yourself stand out. You know, there's so many ways that you can search to find what's going on in the market. You know, what trends are there? You know, what advances are there in the market which require certain coding technologies or, you know, analytics technologies. You know, just go that one step above so that you do stand out. There's loads of ways you can sort of look around and find out what's new. And everything's online. You know, you don't even have to leave your bedroom. You know, you can just sit there and you know, do it from your, or whilst your boss is not looking, maybe. You know, just find out what you can do.
I agree. I think that you know, I'm a classic example of not really having any qualifications, if I'm honest. You know, just hard work, roll sleeves up. But there are certain disciplines where you will need certain qualifications. I think any future employer would look for somebody that's looking to enhance their knowledge, stay ahead of the game, one step above. Again, I'll go back to the children that I was working with last week. For me, the challenge within the job search process is differentiating yourself to everybody else. A lot of people within the job search process feel that they have a God-given right for one job. And that may be true. That may be true. I cannot tell you how many really, really, really talented people I have spoken to and enjoyed working with. But they've gone into that discussion, they've gone into that interview process and perhaps not performed to their true capability, whether it be through lack of research, whether it be through nerves, because an interview, you don't know what questions are going to be posed, so it can be nerve-wracking. There could be a whole host of reasons, but the one thing that does differentiate is true passion for your industry, true passion for your expertise, knowing what you know, liking what you know, and advancing yourself within what you know, and being able to demonstrate that is right. So I think qualifications do align to specific sectors, specific disciplines, but embrace all the opportunity that's out there, because as Steve said, we can learn anything through research, we can learn anything, we can qualify ourselves through various forms now. It's not so much going sitting in the classroom anymore. There's no excuse for not wanting to better ourselves.
Cool. A quick follow-on question then. So in digital space, in marketing space, is it better to keep the specialism quite narrow, or is it better to know a little bit about SEO, a little bit about PPC, a little bit about graphic design, a little bit about email marketing and that kind of thing? So Specialism versus broad spectrum of skills. What's better? Kevin?
My gut feel to that answer is that if you have a specific focus of where you want to go, then specialism is the right way. You know, I think, you know, I've spoken with people that are coming towards the back end of their career and they still haven't found their niche, and they've kind of tried to multi-skill their abilities, and you know, for one reason or another, they've not been able to find their way. But you know, for me, I would say specialism. You know, from another perspective, what frustrates me more than anything is when a candidate connects with me, calls me, sends me an email, sends me a CV, and you just know it is a scattergun contact. You know, they've spoken to somebody else 5 minutes ago, they've probably sent off 50 applications yesterday. There is no real focus, so I'd rather talk about specialism. Diversity of skill set, diversity of experience is another subject, but specialism, if you have that focus.
Anything to add?
I mean, I would say, I mean, unless you're looking to do an MBA, which is, you know, it's going to take a lot of investment and lots of years of practice, then try to broaden things. Okay, you know, there's so many specialist qualifications which you can do in a short space of time, which, you know, if you are dedicated to committing to a certain field, you can do them in a short space of time. Unless it's an MBA or something which is going to take years and years, then maybe you have to dedicate your time to that. And again, we all work in very different fields, so we pick up on certain things from different candidates. But if you can show that you're, you know, active, you want to learn, you want to continue learning, you want to feed your brain and make sure you've got, you know, a full army of skills that you can bring to the table. As I said, unless it's something which requires years and years of practice and dedication and learning, then you do need to commit to that. But otherwise, you know, try and get as much exposure, you know, knowledge, experience, you know, so you can bring it to the table. That way you can broaden your opportunities as well. You know, you have many different things you can bring to the table. But again, it comes down to what you're looking for, and consult someone first. You know, try and get some advice on what direction your career should go in before you decide what or how much of your time you're going to invest into learning something new. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, what I would add to that is I'm more for the focused approach, because within the focused area there is no, especially within digital, things are moving at such a pace. There's always new areas to develop within those, within your specialism. So I guess it's like you said, continue learning. So for example, we talk about Flash, you know, versus HTML5. If you're creative working in that space and you've focused all your time on developing skills in Flash, and now you're having to upskill in HTML5 because you didn't jump on the bandwagon with that, then you're behind the 8 ball a little bit. So you've got to work out what's relevant in your sector and your area, and just make sure you're continuing to learn within that space. That's what digital is all about, because it's constantly evolving.
Thank you. If you want to learn more about basically the summation of everything that the recruiters have just said, if you Google T-shaped marketer, so someone that kind of understands everything on a broad level, but then they have that specialism and that niche, that's effectively what you guys, combination of described, T-shaped marketer. So you can be T-shaped or E-shaped, technically, or you can be a straight line, but straight lines are less employable than if you're a T or an E. Good theory. Just before we go to an audience question, there's a lot of people at the back that I can barely see. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seats here. So do the 5 people want to just scoot forward a little bit, and then we can all be a bit cozier? I think that's the aim tonight. Come on, people, don't be shy. The shyer you are, I'm going to come and call on you for questions.
Stop, Kevin. One for Jason. Let's start with a quick observation. We're talking about young children, and I couldn't help but think how fortunate these young people are to be living in an age where you've got LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. I mean, it wasn't around when I was growing up. Most of us were living in an age where there was only a telephone. There's no mobile phone, no internet, no Facebook, no Twitter, nothing. So the kind of the huge advantages in terms of social networking, as well as business and professional networking, I think it's a great thing for these children, and they should really take advantage of it.
I agree with that. I would say on the flip side to that is that it's a negative, because these children start to... I work with an academy of 97 schools, secondary schools, on helping them think about life beyond the classroom. And the biggest frustration I have in all that work I do with those schools is that the children are academically capable, they are absolutely in tune with technology and all of the platforms that are available for them, but they don't have the basic principles of speaking, of communicating, of asking questions. And I think that's modern day challenges rather than anything else. I think, you know, the children I work with, they're scared to ask a question. They're almost scared of failure. And that engagement through the various social media tools is a really, really valuable asset for them. But I want them to go out and speak to people. I want them to go out and ask questions. I had a girl back in April of last year who wanted to be a hairdresser. And we were doing a discussion with the group, 30 children, and we were talking about aspirations for their career. And she eventually put her hand up and said, I want to be a mobile hairdresser. The whole of the class around her sniggered, and she was nervous, she was embarrassed, but once she started to talk about the rationale behind her ambition, she enjoyed speaking with people. She loved taking care of her own appearance. She had a real passion for making people feel good about themselves. She just came to life, and then when I said to her, so what have you done about that? Now this girl's a month away from finishing her A-levels and being ready to go out to work if she wanted to. Nothing. I've done nothing. Now, over the road from her school, there was a hairdressing salon called Angela's. I guessed that the woman that owned it was called Angela. And I said to her, Marie, I want you to go over and speak to Angela. Ask for 5 minutes of her time. Go and talk to her. Ask her for advice. Ask her for her guidance. What would she recommend? I can't do that. I can't do that. So she stayed behind. I gave her 3 questions I wanted her to go and pose. 2 days later, she emailed me and said, I did it. I've got 2 days worth of voluntary work on Saturdays. So she went back, she did her 2 Saturdays. She then got taken on part-time Saturday job through to the summer. In the summer she worked throughout in the salon making tea and sweeping the floor. She started an apprenticeship with Angela's salon in September. So she's got all of those social media tools for her, but she's scared to ask a question. She's scared to talk. So
it's a question of in terms of we're more social in terms of networking, but we're less sociable in terms of communication.
Maybe. I think that we don't realise the power of the networks that we are building. Whether it be through Twitter, whether it be through Facebook, whether it be through LinkedIn, I don't think we realise the influence that that network can have. And if we open our eyes to that, and I know I'm talking to a room full of digital specialists, and you'll be far more advanced at networking than the average person. But we could still do more. Invest into that network. Give to get, communicate, share messages, share thoughts, share ideas, share about Outreach Digital tonight and what an amazing event it is. And do you know what? People will engage with that. They will.
And finally, before I let somebody else speak, Steve, you were talking about online. Do you think that, obviously it's great that it becomes, the process is so much easier to apply for jobs, but at the same time, do you not think that there is a risk that some people might just be a bit complacent and lazy? It's really, I've got to read that on my phone. I could go onto it now and pretty much apply for 10 jobs in 5 minutes at the click of a button, without actually paying attention to what the job description is. They might be different for different skills, but because it's become so easy, therefore you can just send, you can pretty much send a kind of a standard CV to 20 employers and then wonder why no one's contacting you.
I mean, Hannah will tell you this, probably before even I do. I'm the worst at replying to emails. I am probably the most digitally focused. We need to keep a track of all of our communication by email. Okay, we can start off an application process through LinkedIn, which then needs to be tracked through, email messaging. Pick up the phone, just pick up the phone to start that initial conversation. There is hundreds of emails which get lost in translation. it's so easy, especially when you're trying to introduce yourself. You're selling yourself to a business, you know. You can add value to a business with your personality, with knowledge, with experiences that you've had that won't come across from an email. They won't. So whilst we need to document everything and it needs to be tracked through email and online communication, maybe I'm just too long in the tooth. I started my career back in 2007 when we didn't really have LinkedIn. We had it, it didn't really work. But I'm all about the phone. You know, it only takes that initial conversation to pick up the phone, talk to someone. If they're a good recruiter, they're probably quite nosy. They're probably quite interested in you as a person, what you're into. You know, build a conversation, then send your CV. You're going to be remembered off the back of that conversation. So, off the back of what you're saying, yes, you know, different CVs, different applications. Be proactive. Find out who that contact is. Send a direct message. If that's the only form of communication you've got, if it's online, track them down. Send a direct message. Even better, find their number, give them a call, and have a conversation from there. You know, even if it's just to say your name, where you're from, number of years of experience you have, what you want to do. You know, so many people might apply for a job and say, right, okay, I'm good for it for this reason, this reason, this reason. But just tell them something about yourself, about your career, about an achievement. And then you can have that conversation and then send your CV. It will be remembered off the back of that conversation.
Thank you.
Kamal, I think just to add to that quickly, I have a very, very, very small recruitment agency compared to these two guys. We receive more than 1,000 applications a week. We look at everyone. I hope my team look at everyone. We look at everyone. But so often we see for the same job 5 applications come through from the same candidate because they've gone from Reed to Monster to JobSite to Indeed to wherever. And that scattergun, it frustrates me. Pick up the phone, Steve. Call him. Hi. You don't know me yet, but you will do. Honestly, it's the best way. Don't do that, press up a button and read. Frustrates.
I'm going to give you an example from when, so I used to work at a company called the Media Flow, and we had the best application that I think I've ever seen. Someone actually came to our door and they dropped off a letter with their CV and explained why they were great in it, but they also dropped off a little box that had, you know, like a burner phone, so it's like a tenner from Tesco. They bought a burner phone to our office and they left it and they put a time and a date that they were going to phone us, and they phoned. And obviously we answered the phone because we were like, they've committed enough to want this job that we've not even put on our website. Like, we actually did need an account manager, so they were applying for a job we hadn't even advertised because they were clearly psychic. But mainly, like, the fact that they made that effort was amazing, and we took their call. Like, we didn't actually end up hiring them. It doesn't guarantee you a job, but it does guarantee you that we answered. Ordinarily, we ignored every single CV that was sent through because we were busy. But you don't ignore someone that puts that extra effort in. You treat them with the respect that they've treated you in. So always go the extra mile. We're going to do another question from Slido because there's loads. And then another question back to the audience. Do you want to pick one?
Okay. What advice would you give to someone looking for a contracted job? So somebody who's not looking for a permanent role, but is looking, you know, short term.
Well, the first thing that I would ask is, you know, are you contracting already? And then if not, why do you want to go contracting?
Exactly that. And what I'm going to add to that.
This is a really long conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a really long conversation.
So I mean, that is, yeah, that's a difficult one to answer because, you know, once you don't know why they're contracting, and what it is with recruiters in particular, you know, we get an awful lot of people asking this question, and then we look at what they're doing, and the competition in the contracting world is a lot higher, and because you've got a perm role somewhere, you first of all want to establish, can you survive in that pool, that contract, that freelance world, and are you someone that can walk into an environment where you're not going to have the niceties of a team around you and, you know, knowing everybody, and just get in there, finish a project and leave. And People kind of underestimate how important that is. So you know, you've got to really think about that. Really, first of all, why do you want to go contract? And secondly, you know, have you got the right skill set to survive in that area? I think.
And if anyone is thinking of going into the contract market, honesty is the best quality. 9 times out of 10, people want a contract because they want to earn more money.
Yeah.
That's not always the case. Sometimes people need flexibility. Sometimes people have childcare requirements. Sometimes people want to work on a project which they can only get through contracting. You need to be honest. If that's what you want to do, contracting, explain to your recruiter why, okay? Because you could end up getting the best day rate, you can end up getting the best project if you're honest. We generally speaking, the people that come through our doors looking for contract work, they're looking for more money, which is fine, you know, but just be honest about it from the start. I think.
Cool.
Unless I'm wrong.
No, I'd agree. 95% of people that I speak to that want to go into contracting do it because they've heard so and so and so and so is earning so much a day, and that sounds fantastic.
We're going to do really quick fire questions, so I want a yes or no answer to these two. One, do you think, or have you ever met a recruitment agency, it doesn't have to be your agency because it's a bit mean, that puts up a job ad or puts up a description for a job you don't even know? So you don't have someone that wants that job, but you think, if I put this up, then I'll attract candidates and then I can work that way and do that. Do you know any recruitment agencies that do it? Fake job ads.
Yes.
Yep.
Common problem. So, non-recruiter tip, just Google snippets of the job ads because recruiters are lazy and they don't change the words in them. So it's probably somewhere else on the internet, put it in quotes. If it doesn't exist anywhere else, they've made it up.
Tip, if you do suspect it is a fake advert, if there's a number on the bottom, call them.
Yeah.
Again, coming back to the conversation part.
Okay, next quick fire question. Do you think it's ever beneficial for a candidate to lie on their CV?
No, you'd be found out.
Cool. So, question from the audience?
So I was going to echo what you said, like, what about if you bend the truth a little bit?
Is that like a 90 degree or 360?
It's just like that, it's like slightly.
Like that.
Again, no. I think, you know, I've seen people do it. I don't know why you asked the question, because sometimes people do it to get an opportunity. But that can go either way. That can go really badly, and I've seen it go really badly for a few people in the past.
Any examples?
Yeah, I had a friend that when he graduated, decided he was good enough to get a contract with Credit Suisse, and he went in on this day's contract, and he, you know, was the best coder in the world, but he basically didn't know how to code fluently. So he talked himself up an awful lot, you know, and you know, copied a lot of links from other people that he knew and put up on his portfolio page. And when he got into the contract, he kind of like sat there with his headphones on the internet, trying to work out what they were asking him to do. And they basically came and frog marched him off the floor after an hour because they realised, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So that went pretty bad for him. Yeah.
There is a massive difference between bending the truth on your CV and highlighting certain points, okay? And there, you know, some people could see a grey area between the two. One thing that I did want to get across before we leave is please make sure that your LinkedIn profiles are consistent with your CVs, okay? Because they will be cross-referenced by, you know, employers, okay? So even if you're telling the truth and there might have been, you know, a typo or whatever on your LinkedIn or whether it's your CV, please make sure that both are consistent. Otherwise, even if you are telling the truth, there could be a problem which you've just kind of raised there.
I mean, what I meant, like, is like, because you can sort of exaggerate certain things a little bit. Like, for instance, for myself, you know, I've just started learning jQuery like a year ago, and I put it as one of my strong skills on my CV.
Right.
So like, just so I get more exposure that way, like.
Yeah, you might have just started learning it, but are you good at it?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you just started learning. You could be a superstar JavaScript developer. You know?
Better off being honest about it, like 100%.
Yeah, I always tell recruiters that, like, I've just started like a year ago, but like on my CVs, I put it there that I've been doing it for like quite a long time. So
Right, that's
have
a
a conversation.
360 bend. that's not like that.
The phrase you're looking for is, I have an understanding of. If you have a skill but you can't necessarily apply it because you've never applied it. So I've never done paid search, but my CV says I have an understanding of paid search because I know the theory. 100%, I've done my AdWords exams, I've passed them all, but I've never actually physically logged in and set up a paid search campaign because I have an SEO job. But like I could if I had to, but it would take me longer than the average person. So we go with understanding of. Understanding of a theory is fine. And it kind of covers it if people don't read it that far.
And it tells me how to do recruitment.
Then, and I hate it. So don't move. Any other questions from the audience, or should we do another Slido? You've got 3 seconds to raise your hand.
Just very quickly, I noticed that some employers are more thorough in checking references than others. My previous employer, HSBC, they made sure that there were no gaps in the last 10 years. And they wanted a reference from each of them.
For the past 10 years?
Very, very strict. 10 years. Whereas previous companies, if you say you've worked somewhere and you've done this, they won't necessarily do all the background checks. Whereas banks, for instance, they have to.
What's your question?
I was just saying that some employers are more thorough in checking previous.
Yeah, they are. I mean, me personally, I'm not an employer. I'm a recruiter, so I can't really contradict or say how much reference they should take. 10 years ago, that's a bit too far in my opinion. It's case by case. It really is case by case.
I think the one thing I will say is that we've been supporting a client that specialises in back-checking potential employees. HSBC is one of their clients, fun enough. And you will be amazed at the level of detail that they can choose to go into. Not just about your employability and your experience, not just about your qualifications that you put on your CV. With your authorisation, they can check everything. You've got to be prepared for that question. You've got to be prepared for that exposure. I think we've all got stories. My best friend went for his first ever job after graduating at LSE. He got a 2-2 and he decided that he'd like to turn it into a 2-1. He got a job with a big bank, financial institution. He got found out before he started and didn't start in that role. That was back in 98, 99. Reference checking has become a lot more automated. You've got to be prepared to ask questions. An awareness of, a knowledge of, kind of covers you.
Quick question then, to move on. Do you keep CDs, or do you just keep looking at the latest coming in? Do you store CDs and go back to them to revisit in the future?
Oh, this is a quick answer.
Yeah,
Yeah, yes or no?
Do you
Yes.
store them?
Yeah.
Yes. Cool.
Do you check them?
Yes.
Every now and then?
Next question off here. So an interesting one for, I know some of our volunteers have had this. If you're looking for visa sponsorship at the same time as being hired, so you kind of need the best of both, what would you recommend for candidates going about it that way? Or any experience doing it? You're allowed to say no. It's better not to lie. We've learned that today.
Is it still yes, no?
No, you can give us a bit of depth.
I'd say shop about. It depends on the clients that the recruiter has. And it depends on the time frames you're working to as well. If you're looking for a job to start immediately, then you need to find an employer that has licenses to provide you with a visa straight away. If you don't, then you're going to have to shop about and speak to other recruiters that have the clients that can provide you with a visa straight away. We see, sorry, am I going overboard here? We see some of the best candidates that we want to place, but we don't have clients who can offer a visa straight away. So frustrating for us. We say to them, go speak to another recruiter. There are people out there, your skill set will have to justify the license, because most employers have a very limited number of licenses they can provide, but this is where you need to maximise your network of recruiters to make sure you can get your visas.
Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well said.
Hannah, have you got your visa yet?
Funny. I'm going to condense a couple of other questions into one, which is, we've had some questions about specific sectors. So if you're moving from like UX into SEO, or you're moving from paid into design, because you have both skills, but your experience is only in one sector, what's the best way to go about that?
I think you mentioned training and so on before. I guess I think there's a lot. One of the things I didn't mention is about upskilling is I really, and a lot of the employees I work with tend to value the GA courses, the intensive courses that they do at the moment, like moving into UX or front-end development in particular. So I guess make sure you look at doing the right kind of upskilling in that area in terms of study. That for me would make a difference a lot to the employers that I use, something that's well recognised in that area. So that's an example like that recently.
Any grad guys on board?
Yeah, do you know, I'd share those aspirations, perhaps not so categorically to your current employer. Expose yourself to new challenges within your current role. Expose yourself into whether it be SEO or PPC activity. If that has interest for you, do you know what? An employer would relish one of their employees putting their hand up and asking for more responsibility. Again, it's pretty obvious, but test yourself, challenge yourself. Seek training, seek qualifications from your employer if that's available, and that will